Today, we've got a huge two-part live demo of Dante's Inferno and a mind-bending preview of Heavy Rain.
Plus, Mega Man and Frank West duke it out, and we review one of the year's nastiest games. X-Play starts right now.
Hello and welcome to X-Play, the show that did not have crazy ambient sex with Tiger Woods. I'm Adam Sessler.
Probably not. And I'm Morgan Webb. We are coming to you from the G4 studios in Los Angeles.
All right, coming up, we've got a special two-part hands-on demo of Dante's Inferno, including your first look at a brand new level. It has the mount to end all mounts.
Yes, plus we are going to have the latest on Tatsunoko versus Capcom Ultimate All-Stars. This game might make you buy a fighting stick for your Wii.
Then we'll preview Heavy Rain for the PlayStation 3. We'll show you how the simplest of choices can drastically affect the plot of this ambitious thriller.
And we are going to have a review of Rogue Warrior, a 2-hour game that is supremely offensive and looks 5 years old. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to score, I think.
Yep, but first, let's go to hell.
Yes, Dante's Inferno, which was developed by the team behind Dead Space, is a gory romp through Lucifer's backyard.
See, Satan's after Dante's wife,
right.
And he intends to marry her. There's not a guy you want pushing up on your old lady.
Let's go hands-on for a closer look.
Inspired by the legendary poetry of Dante Alighieri, Dante's Inferno takes you straight to the underworld. You'll get a scenic tour of all 9 circles of hell as you slice and dice your way through treacherous, puzzle-filled environments and face colossally evil bosses in search of the fair Lady Beatrice. Abandon all hope, ye who play here. Joining us today, the executive producer on Dante's Inferno, Jonathan Knight. It's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks, man.
So, which part of hell are we looking at right here?
Well, what we're looking at right here is the end of Anger, which is the 5th circle of hell. And sort of the midpoint in the game is a huge battle that's going to ultimately culminate in a big turning point in the story.
Now, obviously, through design, you're going to see a lot of distinct qualities between the various levels of hell. Are there going to be different gameplay elements, such as in this level, that you'll only find in those levels?
Absolutely. It's like my favorite thing about the game is the fact that all 9 circles of hell are so unique. Obviously, all new art direction and stories and characters and enemies, but also the gameplay is always changing up. And, we've shown a lot of action and fighting and demos well when we do that, but there's a ton of puzzles and there's a lot of platforming and giant bosses and sub-bosses, and it really is always changing, and there's just tons of variety.
Now, obviously, when you look at the game, the gameplay does not look completely unfamiliar, but what has been your guys' approach to what seems to be a more classic style of gameplay?
Yeah, sure. So I think the thing in terms of gameplay that makes the game unique is really the duality of the character and the duality of the mythology. And from the beginning, we wanted to fold in the idea of kind of a holy path and an unholy path. And it's very much an action-adventure with kind of a linear story, but you'll decide if you're going to punish people by taking their heads off with this scythe, or whether you're going to use the power of the cross, which is more magical and strategic.
I think we just saw it right there.
Yeah, exactly. And so you'll see Zach using those 2 weapons interchangeably, and what's cool is that you actually level up down a holy path or an unholy path. You earn experience points, and you decide basically how to kind of customize your character down the path.
Who's the big angry guy that's here in anger?
Yeah, so that's our take on Phlegius, who from the poem is the kind of raging boatman of the River Styx, which is the sequence that precedes the one you're looking at right now. And so in the poem, he's kind of this angry man that's got this raft, and he takes Dante across the river. But we wanted, for the video game, to kind of amp that up, and we made him into this super giant character who in this sequence is sometimes going to help you and sometimes going to hurt you if you get in his way.
Now, what is the decision that was just made here? I think it was to absolve or to something else?
To punish, right.
To punish.
So that choice is how you earn either holy experience or unholy experience. And we wanted to put that right in the fast-paced combat so that you're making that decision all the time. And it's essentially how you choose to finish enemies. Do you choose to finish them off by freeing their soul, or do you choose to finish them off by dismembering them in a more brutal way? And it's a really fun mechanic because a lot of times you don't have a chance to think about it. It's just what feels right in that moment. But over the course of the game, you'll see the consequence of those decisions.
Now, I hope that some of our viewers will bone up on their Dantes before playing the game, but I was curious, how much are you true to the poem and how much are you taking liberties with it?
Right, so I think one of the most incredible things about this poem is the imagination of the geography of hell. Like when you open a copy of the poem, the first thing you see is a map. Someone's drawn the 9 circles of hell, and here are the rivers and the forests, and there's like a city, and it's just an unbelievable kind of spectacle that he's imagined and created, and we've lived with that vision of hell for 700 years, and that's what really drew us to it. So I think we're pretty literal when it comes to the 9 circles and what you're going to see, and the characters and the monsters and the creatures. You know, where we took a bit of liberty was with the story, because it's an adaptation of a poem into a game, and so we needed it to be, you know, more of an action story. So we've written a new story. We've reinvented Dante as a warrior and not a poet, and excuse me. I think we've brought in a lot of new kind of drama to the story.
And also, I think when people think of the 9 circles of hell, they assume, oh, the game must have 9 levels. But there is some stuff that is additional to just sort of those basic structures of the poem.
Yeah, well, the game starts out on the surface, much like the poem does. He's lost in a dark forest. He's confused about his life. And so we have a whole level that takes place before you get into hell. And that's where we set up the story and the conflict with Beatrice and kind of Dante's dark past. And then from there, we get into hell, and it's the 9 circles.
All right, and you're going to stick around because you're going to be showing us something no one has seen before, which is the City of Dis, which I assume is a bunch of people being kind of unpleasant to a bunch of others.
Dissing each other, right?
Exactly.
No,
See, I'm
funny.
so, look, puns
You're
from
good.
the 80s. So, Jonathan, you stay put, and with that, we're going to take it over to Morgan.
In the new fighting game Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars, you'll probably see a lot of very unfamiliar faces. That's because, and I'm just going to go ahead and speculate here, you probably didn't grow up in Japan in the 1960s, but that's okay. Here's what you need to know. It's a fighting game, it's Capcom, so probably means you like it. Here's an all-access look. The Versus series holds a special place in our hearts here at X-Play, so imagine how excited we were to find out that popular characters from Capcom are set to do battle with ones from Tatsunoko. What's Tatsunoko, you ask?
Tatsunoko is kind of a big deal in Japan. It's an animation studio that's been around since 1962, so think of it as kind of like the Marvel Comics or like the Hanna-Barbera or something like that.
Those of you familiar with Japanese pop culture might have seen these characters before.
And you might know some, like Battle of the Planets, the Gatchaman guys, like Ken the Eagle and Jin the Swan. I knew those guys, but if you don't know anybody else, it doesn't matter because they're all superheroes who have giant lasers and giant robots, and it's fun. And originally, this game was only intended for Japan, so the idea that people in the West didn't necessarily know what Tatsunoko wasn't our concern.
So, how did it wind up coming to America?
Myself and a few other people at Capcom saw this game and fell in love with it because it's just really fun game right away. It was targeted only for Japan. And so I got excited about it, and the fans sort of got involved and made their voices heard.
Capcom listened to the fans' demand for a stateside release. They added online gameplay and, of course, new characters.
So the new characters are, from the Tatsunoko side, we have Joe the Condor, and we've also got Tekkaman Blade. As well, from the Capcom side, we've got Mega Man Zero, who's got all of his familiar Mega Man moves, and everybody's favorite Frank West from Dead Rising.
Whoa, yeah! Don't be intimidated if you aren't a hardcore fighting game expert.
There's a lot of strategies that you can sort of develop as you continue to play. But if you just want to see giant lasers shoot out of people's faces and turn into 50-foot robots, you got that right out of the box. So it's really a fighting game for everybody.
And everybody can get their hands on it when Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars hits the U.S. this January.
Coming up on X-Play, we've got a preview of Heavy Rain for the PlayStation 3. Find out why seeing the words Game Over will be your worst nightmare in this groundbreaking mystery. Plus, we're going to review Rogue Warrior. Sure, it has the highest amount of F-bombs in the video game ever, but is that really good enough? Then we're going to continue our blood-soaked hands-on look at Dante's Inferno and reveal a never-before-seen level. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to X-Play. Dante's Inferno executive producer Jonathan Knight is back to show us more of the game. Sir, thank you for remaining here.
My pleasure.
And you're not even shackled.
No, I'm
good. Appreciate
good.
you hanging out on your own. Now, what we're looking at here, this is actually a never-before-seen part of this game, correct?
That's right. This is the City of Dis, which is really, in the poem, kind of the separation between the upper circles of hell, which is like lust, gluttony, greed, and anger, and then the beginning of what he calls lower hell, which is the lower 4 circles where things get much more classically kind of fire and brimstone.
Okay, yeah, as we can see here, I mean, obviously a lot of the aesthetics is that fire and brimstone you can see down below. Things look kind of hot.
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah, so what you're seeing right now is Phlegius, who's the kind of the giant raging ferryman of the River Styx, and you would have seen him in the previous sequence, and we've been showing him all year long, but in this sequence you actually take control of him, and so Zach, who's playing here, is driving him around, and it's just a really fun break in the gameplay where you can just literally destroy the city of Dis.
Nice. Sounds very pleasant.
Yeah.
Happy. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of those other breaks in the gameplay, specifically the beast taming that you guys have. It's something very unique, it seems, to this game. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so yeah, we're really excited about that feature. I mean, basically, I like to think of it as almost vehicles in hell. There's these giant demons that, you know, in any other game would be a boss, but instead of just killing them, you kind of wear them down so that you can get on top of them where there's a demon on top of the demon that's driving him, and you kill that demon, and then you jam your scythe into his head and take control of him, and the whole scale and perspective kind of changes, and so now you're, you know, basically picking up and biting the heads off of guys that have been giving you a hard time previously, and it's just great payback, and it just makes you feel super powerful.
Nice. I mean, that does sound like that would be a boss battle in a typical game scenario. Now that you've removed those boss battles, what are your boss battles like?
Well, we got tons of boss battles on top of that, and those are they're all different. You know, we've got some classic boss battles that are more like puzzles, giant character. You got to figure out the kind of weakness and take them down. You know, we've got other ones that are more integrated with the environment. And you got to watch out. Sometimes they could hurt you. Sometimes they could help you. We've got sub bosses that are smaller in scale, but like really hard to kill, and they have a lot of different moves. You have to kind of figure out strategies. So, you know, we just wanted it always to be kind of changing up, and so you never feel like you're, you know, fighting the same fight.
Nice. And you said that there are puzzle elements inside those boss battles. Outside of the boss battles, tell me about some of the puzzle elements in the rest of the game.
Sure. I mean, we have an amazing level design team. Like, I'm really excited about the variety in the level design. So there's definitely, you know, some more cerebral puzzles that slow the pace down, and you got to figure out, you know, how to kind of solve the room and get out, or go up or go down. There's definitely some platforming and some descent sequences with rope climbing and rappel, and you know, there's puzzles that involve levers and cranks and moving the world around. There's action puzzles that are more you know, kind of fast-paced, and there's just a lot of variety, and I think people are going to really enjoy that.
Very cool, and of course something on everybody's mind when they see subject matter like this, are you going to make games based on the other parts of the poem, or is this it for you guys?
Right now, this is what we're focused on. You know, yeah, the poem was kind of conceived in 3 parts, the 3 kingdoms of the afterlife, but, you know, Inferno is there's a lot of material there, and that's what everybody's focused on, and we just want it to be as great as it can be, so that's our focus.
All right. I got that you're going to make more of this game.
Well,
Even though you said the exact opposite, dude, I get it.
I think you got to earn the right to make a sequel, and
right.
so we're focused on earning that right now.
Very cool, man. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. It looks awesome. You guys can download the demo of Dante's Inferno on the PSN this Thursday, and the game will be out on February 9th. For now, let's send it over to Adam.
Thanks, Blair. Now, Heavy Rain is definitely not your typical video game. It offers a number of unique gameplay features, like permanent death. Your character dies, it's game over for real. That character is gone. No continues, no restarts. This preview explains why. Heavy Rain is a dark and mysterious game full of film noir atmosphere. You play 4 different characters, all tracking down a serial killer. The action unfolds in a series of scenes, making the game more of a cinematic experience. The focus is on the choices you make at each prompt. You visit a convenience store owned by one of the victim's parents.
Good evening to you, sir.
My name's Scott Shelby. I'm a private detective. I'm investigating the case of the origami killer. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
My son is dead, Mr. Shelby. I have nothing more to say.
Here, the story can take several paths. One is to persist in your questioning.
I also lost someone I loved. I know what you're feeling. You may know something that could help save other people's lives.
When an armed robber enters the store, you have several choices again. In this path, you take him out hard. Revisiting the scene from scratch, you're once again rebuffed by the shop owner, but this time you appeal to his feelings.
The killer has kidnapped another victim. A 10-year-old boy.
No one did anything to save my son. Now, please, to move along, sir.
Still doesn't work, but next go round, another option might pay off.
Give me what you got in the register.
Again, the robber enters. This time you confront him.
Hey, you! Come here!
You choose the soft approach.
Do you have anyone you care for in your life?
Yeah, a little girl.
When that doesn't work, try the hard line.
Now, I want you to put the gun back in your pocket and quietly walk out of the store.
Finally, you get your clue.
When my boy, Razor, disappeared, I received a letter with a locker ticket inside.
Heavy Rain is a world full of choices, branching storylines, and a compelling atmosphere.
I was beginning to think that there was no good to be found in this place. I can see now that I was wrong.
Enter the complex world of Heavy Rain, hitting stores early 2010.
Don't move!
This Saturday, we are sending some of the country's craziest athletes to Japan for the biggest challenge of their lives, American Ninja Warrior. 10 brave souls will run the world's most sadistic obstacle course and attempt to do the impossible. Reach the top of Mount Midoriyama. It's only been done twice before. The competition begins Saturday night at 6. Go to the all-new G4TV.com/American Ninja for an up-close look at all of the competitors.
All right, stick around because we got a review that you do not want to miss. The ultra-violent, shockingly profane, and Mickey Rourke-infused Rogue Warrior is coming up right after this.
Welcome back. Next week, do not miss our biggest show of the year. Of course, X-Play's Best of 2009 special.
Find out our picks for Best Original Game, Best Shooter, and many, many, many more. Our hour-long 2009 event kicks off Tuesday night, December 15th at 6.
Just go to G4TV.com/XPlay specials. There you're going to find all the details.
Now, I don't want to spoil anything,
No?
but do not expect Rogue Warrior to make the cut this year.
Yeah, it's a bland shooter that relies on two things. Animations where you stab dudes in the face.
Kind of cool.
Kind of awesome. And an absurd amount of profanity spewed by Mickey Rourke.
Now, it sounds like it could be Wild Orchid 3.
Yeah, that would have been a whole lot better than this game. Here's our review. Right off the bat, Rogue Warrior had two things going for it that made it an interesting game to keep your eye on. Number one, it's based on the true-life adventures and memoirs of Navy SEAL Richard Dick Marcinko.
Son of a bitch.
Number two, the voice talent secured to play Richard Dick Marcinko was none other than Mr. Randy the Ram Robinson himself, Mickey Rourke.
That looks like a douchebag convention in town.
Unfortunately, now that the game has been released, fascination is quickly fading into the truth. And the truth is that Rogue Warrior is a lot like Mickey Rourke's plastic surgery in that something has gone terribly wrong.
It's a total goat.
As you trudge through Rogue Warrior's stereotypical set pieces like the docks and the rail yard, repetitively killing soldier after soldier, one has to wonder, are the enemies you're facing actually part of a secret North Korean cloning program or the victims of lazy character design? I bring this up because each level contains between 1 and 3 enemy character models. That's it. I'm not saying a game should have individual models for everyone you meet, but come on, how many times does this dude have to die? Maybe he'd be able to survive a little longer if he wasn't constantly facing away from danger. You see, in an effort to include a sort of stealth mechanic in the game, Rogue Warrior allows you to sneak up behind enemies for close quarters kills. It does so, however, at the price of believable AI, as soldiers and guards are often facing away from you, even if that means they're staring at a wall. Let's talk about sound design, or in Rogue Warrior's case, lack thereof. No matter how many wonderfully quotable profanity-laden sound bites we hear, they never sound like they're actually being uttered in-game by the character and come off almost like an afterthought.
Happy 4th of July, mother.
Luckily, the content of these verbal achievements sort of makes up for it.
Breath coming, mother. Special delivery. Suck. Piss. Trick or treat. My balls, my hairy big. Wrap them around your mouth.
Sort of. But eventually, when all the creative swearing ends, there's still a game that needs to be played here, and the truth is, it's not very good. Rogue Warrior gets a 2 out of 5.
Coming up on X-Play, we'll reveal our nominees for the greatest honor in gaming, X-Play's Game of the Year. Find out which titles will be fighting for the top prize in our Best of 2009 special. Plus, we'll review The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. We'll tell you if Link's new portable adventure is worth your hard-earned cash. Then, a classic is reborn. We've got a review of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, a brand new take on the horror classic. And if you're looking for good games on the go, then admitted cell phone junkie Blair Herder's got you covered. He'll reveal his top 5 games for the iPhone. All that and more, don't miss it. The upside is that
Yes.
Rogue Warrior is insanely short, so you can get to the wrap at the end of it.
Right, which
That's
is
the upside.
Yes.
Up next, attack of the show.